Rightio, hello everyone, and this is going to be a very content-packed session. I'm just gonna get into it because there's a lot to cover with wealth generation. Some of you that have been around may have seen bits of it. None of you would have seen all of it, but it will help. Even if there are things that I say today which you vehemently disagree with, I guarantee you there are going to be some things that you can take away which will be helpful for you. And before we crack on, if you go to my prerequisite viewing for today, which I guess you can watch afterwards, is this rant about fund managers and why you need to exit stocks, etc. The reason being is that on this particular, oh my lord, I look like a weird beardy man. Around up until the sort of the 7-minute mark, around this bit here where I'm just strolling around in the garden, I talk about some things which I think will be relevant for today. Anyway, so let's crack on. I have got my big old whiteboard. And I'm going to scream through this. Please, if you have any questions, pop them in the chat box. I'm going to do my best to ignore the chat box because it just I end up going on weird tangents, and then I will do a live Q&A at the end. Okay, so that's that. We are recording, so no one else misses out. That's good. We are. Can you all see this whiteboard?
Yep.
Beautiful. Right, I am going to mute everybody, and then just. Okay, so let's crack on. So let's zoom in over here. So basically, this is a game. I'm a gamer. I love computer games, and everything in life I treat like a video game, pretty much. And when you look at wealth generation, it pretty much is the same. It's a game, and it isn't for everyone. Just like gaming isn't for everyone, and that's totally cool. If you're not a gamer, and if you don't want to play, but word of warning, it's a bit like paintballing. If you go paintballing, you're going to get stung a little bit. You're not going to die, you're going to get stung. And there are drawbacks to any physical sports, MMA, rugby, whatever. And it's the same with the wealth generation game, except it's non-physical sometimes. And so if you do play, you are going to have a very high probability of mental and I guess ethereal problems. So you will lose money, you will lose friends, you will get into debt. And yeah, as you can see here, you'll have unhealthy levels of stress, reduced sleep, and you will never ever win this game if you have a lack of drive. So I just want to get all the words of warning out of the way. And the reason being is that when I talk about the drive thing, there needs to be something that you are gunning for, that you are driving towards, that you really need to happen. Not want to happen, that you need to happen. And if you don't have that drive, I'm afraid you're not going to win this game. Or if you do win the game, it's going to take you 20 plus years. And I think I before we get into any of the real content, I just want to give more context in regards to who you listen to. Okay, so I'm not a billionaire, and so I cannot talk about becoming a billionaire. I'm not even a centimillionaire or big millionaire, so I can't even teach you or talk about how to do that. And I think it's important to take advice from people only a few levels ahead of you, not 100 or 1,000 levels ahead of you. So if I was to consult Elon Musk to help me in my businesses, etc., I would be awestruck and it would be amazing, but I don't think he would be able to help me that much because he's so far gone. Like, he was in my position, back when he was probably 15 years old. For me, it would be much better to try and find someone who is worth, 10, 20 million pounds, or have a business 10 times bigger than my business, because then it's still pretty much fresh in their mind. So for me, I hate saying this, but I am what I call a poor millionaire. So I'm only worth a couple of £1 million, and and it sounds so wanky saying this, and I'm really cringy saying this, but because I'm affluent, I'm wealthy, I can do things I want to do. I can go and I can pretty much buy anything I want. But I can't do it without having a big pang of guilt. So I was chatting with some friends not long ago that I really want to buy this aeroplane. It's a lovely aerobatics plane, really fast, and I can buy it, but it's 250 grand, and there's a massive part of me thinking, yeah, okay, that's a relative chunk of your wealth, and I have that opportunity cost guilt. So if I park 250 grand in a liability, because that's definitely what it will be, like, what am I going to lose out in the future? So yeah, so I guess that's context. So moving on, basically this is going to be a bit of a Marmite session. As I said, you will take away some things that will help, even if you disagree with me. And I see a lot of the similar things online, like this. So it's, again, mainly from keyboard warriors, etc. Like, how dare you even think about making money at a time like this? People are dying. And that really gets my goat, because people, we're in this stupid CV lockdown type period, and people are thinking, right, everyone just has to stop working. But the thing is, if people stop working, if everyone stops working, like the things that people hold dear and precious, like running water, electricity, all that stops. So people have to, and like 3 million people die a year from smoking. 3 million people a year. Where is the massive anti-campaign of smoking? What about sugar, diabetes, and all that sort of stuff? Obesity clogs up NHS and health services all over the world. So I think if you are someone that's thinking, how dare you think about making wealth, during a time like this, I think it's best if you bugger off. This video, this session is not for you. So this video is only for people who are actively interested in wanting to improve their financial life. And I see there's nothing wrong with that in my opinion. It's people like you that got us all in this mess in the first place. I don't know what they think who I am. I'm small fry. But basically, if you think, well, I think a lot of people say that against traders. I mean, this isn't about trading today, but there are traders that do affect the wider economy, where, if a big trader wins and their money, they're basically stolen from sort of a pension pot of some sort or whatnot. And there are traders which have zero effect on like if you play World of Warcraft, or any computer game, it has zero effect in the real world. So I'm of that ilk when I do my trading. And in terms of businesses, as I said, nothing gets done without business owners. So you have to understand that business owners are the backbone in every freaking nation. They employ the most people. They produce everything. So I think it's honourable to be a business owner. It's just my opinion. Why should we listen to you? I guess I don't know who's on this. I don't know the personal circumstances of everyone in this thing, but I guess I'm a couple of levels ahead in this game of most people, I would say. So I can help, and you just want to sell a course or have an alternate agenda. So yeah, I do have an alternate agenda. So if you go to the WAP, so I'll probably mention the WAP quite a lot today. The Wealth Action Plan. So this is everything about wealth generation, and like the sole existence of this thing is to help my schooling system. So I want to set up a new schooling system because I think the existing one is just woefully inadequate. But the only way I can do that is to basically, I need funding, and I'm gonna, to get my MVP, my minimum viable product up and running, I need 55 grand a month. So basically all the profits, or a big chunk of the profits from the WAP, is going to go into the school. So yeah, I will unashamedly promote the WAP because it's all about everything. Yeah, I guess this is going to be one of the modules in my school in terms of the financial education bit. So I guess that is my alternate agenda. So and also, like, if you ever go to that website and go to our beliefs section, you'll see a big old article of me, what I feel, etc. And here you'll basically see this is the modern paradigm where you've got to do well in school to get good grades so you can get into uni, to then get a degree, which you'll end up with a useless degree in a profession that you'll never need it for, if that makes sense. Most people with degrees are not in the profession relevant to their degree, if that makes sense. And so this may have been good advice 50 years ago, but today that's typically bad advice, because most degrees, or if you go to uni, you're going to end up 30 to 50 grand in debt. Even more so if you're in America. And so, yeah, and the thing is, when you look at this, one of the things here which I found out is that So look at this. Here is an interesting list of the average salary you'll earn 5 years after doing the top 20 degrees. So here are the top 20 odd degrees, and so just 5 years after your degree, what is the mean salary here? I'd say probably 25, maybe 30 grand a year. Obviously medicine is probably the highest here, but most of the time you'll end up with a job with an average wage. So I see no point in getting 30 to 50 grand in debt to end up with a job of, say 30 grand a year. You'll never claw that debt back. So yeah. So then moving on, I guess the main reason why I have this thing called the foal, my framework of life. And if you understand the foal, I guess you'll understand me. And this is where I think things get a little bit Marmite, because some people think this is proper wanky and go, oh God. But yeah, so my foal, this is why I live. So it's 5 points really. To live the life I've always wanted without limits or worries. Yep. To have limitless time, option, freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want, wherever you want, with whoever you want. To inspire, help loved ones and the people around you for the better. To help or create meaningful, positive difference. This is important. Meaningful, positive difference to the environment and mankind as a whole. Like I want to save the bees as well. I love bees. And to have no regrets, ever. So that is basically what I teach my own kids. We have a thing called the Kid Creed, and it embodies all of this stuff, and we say it every night, like the Lord's Prayer, etc. But in a nutshell, the marketing like words is earn enough passive income so that you can hit your financial independence target as quick as possible. Then do whatever the hell you want to do. Then help others, help the planet, and live without regret. Boom. So that is me in a nutshell. So this is a really how long have we got? Bloody hell, 10 minutes in. I need to hurry up. Okay, so let's get into. So before we go any further, does that make sense? That is the context of today.
Yep.
Sweet. Right, here we are. This is the rules of the game. How do you win this game? You need to reach level 1, which is financial independence, as quick as you can. Simple game, simple. Harder to execute. Simple rules though. After that, there are bonus or kudos levels of 2, which is financial freedom, or level 3, financial abundance. And level 2 and 3 are completely optional. But the game is get to level 1 and then you have the option. You can do whatever the hell you want after that. So, and to put it into context,
Hello.
Hello. I'm just going to mute everyone for the moment. We'll take questions at the end. So if we look at, if we go here, WAP, 30-day trial thingy, WAP planner. So one of the things we have in the WAP trial, we have all these fanciful spreadsheets, etc. But part of the big thing is this WAP planner thing here. And long story short, there are several things which it's not, you don't necessarily have to do it in this order, but most people do if they enter this journey. But you have to understand what so you have financially covered, and that's where your base operating costs are. So this is your basic lifestyle, which will enable you to fight and work. So that's financially covered. Your financial independence is when you have basics financially covered and all the other bits and bobs. So when you add all this up, whatever the total is here, let's say it's $3 grand a month, you're financially independent when your assets are paying you every month $3 grand a month in this case. Obviously it's different for everyone else. Then you're financially buffered when you have 3 months worth of essentials in cash. So when I say essentials, it's this bit over here. You're financially safe when you have a year's worth in rainy day fund. So in this case, if you had, say, 24 grand in liquid assets or savings, then you're financially safe because you've got a year's worth of operating runway ahead of you. And then you're financially free when this is basically ideal magic wand lifestyle. Figure out what you want. When most people do this, it's normally anywhere between 5 and 25 grand a month. I would say the mean, average is probably around 10 grand a month. And then you're financially abundant. So this is level 3. This is where you have FU money. So when you're when you have tens of millions in the bank and you have then the power to do things with it. So that's that. If we just get rid of that. So they're the levels. Now, here are the other rules. You need to remain within the boundaries of the law. So this is important. You need to stay within the law, but always apply critical thinking to rules. So sometimes you may need to bend the rules. Sometimes you may need to find workaround to the rules, but don't break the law. Because a lot of people don't question rules when, a lot of rules are there which are just completely bogus and bullshit. You can win the game with any strategy, so this is interesting. A lot of people think there's only one way, and it's property, or it's trading, or it's Amazon, FBA, or dropshipping, etc. Thing is, every single freaking tool, activity, or strategy works. It really does. You would have, like 20 odd years ago, if someone said, I want to sell books online, they'd say you're an idiot. And look what Jeff Bezos did. They all work. It's all about execution. That is the sole thing. Like, if you can become a multimillionaire selling sewing kits if you wanted. It's all about the execution and how you do it. And so you need to complete. So here's the other thing. This is, I guess, not really a rule, but it's a caveat. You need to complete this game within 20 years max, or you'll time out. And when I say time out, that means retirement of some sort. So yeah, you need to do it within 20 years max, ideally 10 years. So I've only been in this wealth generation game since I was 25, so 9 years now. So I've only been in it 9 years. So 10 years was actually my goal. So I'm almost on track. I'm slightly behind of where I wanted to be, but I'm happy. So they're the rules. Now we can move on. So let's get into some tips before we get into the real practical shizzle. So wealth is always flowing from the uninformed to the informed, and therefore it's essential you must grow or develop a growth mindset. It's absolutely pivotal. If you stop learning, you are going to fall behind and you will never win this game. And I hate to say it, but when I started getting into business or wealth gen, I had a whole bunch of friends which were in the same position. We were all broke. We all did the same networking groups. We all did the same courses and like business courses and stuff like that. And over the last 9 years, some people have pulled away and some people are still there. And I have to, and the people that are still in their financial holes or ruts, I guess, are the people that don't have the drive. They were never really gunning for something. So, and the thing is, if you don't have anything which is really pulling you towards, I wouldn't worry, because the more you read, the more that you learn, you'll eventually find something which really resonates with you. And if you're ever unsure, look at the United Nations Global Sustainability Goals. There's like 17 of them. Pick one. One of them's bound to sing out to you. So yeah, and also there are always going to be natural forces which just want to screw you over. Literally, it will seem like the world is against you. It will seem that the government is spying over your shoulder and doing everything possible to screw you over. For me, it's the banks. My credit rating has always been shit for no reason at all, and so I've never been able to get credit. So for me, I've always been like, damn you banks. So here are the forces. Prices prices will always be too high. The government is not there to look after you. Politicians only care about votes, optics, and career progression. Taxes will always be too high. There will always be change in the world. That is the only constant. And there will always be strife and death in the world, and the uninformed spectators will always judge and criticize you from their armchairs. These are the facts. Look at history. These things have never changed, ever. So it would be foolish to believe that even one of these things will change in the near future, or even in our lifetime. So you have to, like with every game, there are enemies and baddies that you need to shoot and ignore. Well, you just freaking jump over them, bash them on the head, go through them. Mario, jump on them. So, yeah, the quicker you accept this, and the quicker that you start focusing on things that you can control, the quicker you'll complete the game. This is something which I used to fail on massively, like especially if you're opinionated. Everyone has opinions and stuff like that, but you need to don't waste time. I mean, I struggle with this. So like there are some things that I really feel strongly about, but it's absolute. Just think about this. It is let's say you're in a WhatsApp group with a whole bunch of people, It's absolutely pointless you trying to go rah, 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 this is what I think in that WhatsApp group. What are you achieving? All you're doing is wasting your own time. Your cortisol is going through the roof in you and probably raising other people's cortisol levels. All you're going to do is rub people up the wrong way, and people are either it achieves nothing. So if you do have something you really want to scream about, do it in a way that will actually make a difference. So getting into lengthy Facebook debates or whatever is not going to help you. And I still struggle with that. But I'm more reserved. So yeah, only focus on things that you can control. So yeah, that is the really important thing here. So where do we go now? So after this bit, now we need to get in to who is playing. Right. So the spectator. We have they're two basic. Oh my stupid background. I've just seen it. Ignore my background. Okay, so there are two participants in this game: the spectators and the players. So let's look at the spectators. So the spectators are typically 95% plus of the population in any country you go to. They're typically not interested in the game, thus cannot be asked. Looking at this here, I've just seen a little spelling error. Well, it should be a comma, not full stop. So yeah, they can't be asked. A large proportion of spectators love to comment or gossip about the players. These comments and people should be ignored. It's just like people, criticizing football players when they're watching a football game, or, people criticizing politicians when they're, there's so much going on that we don't know. Hell, there's me complaining about the banks and politicians, but hey, I guess we are all spectators in some games. So we're talking about the wealth generation game here, and politics is another game, and yeah, etc. Most of the spectators have negative associations with money, the game, and also those that reach level 2 or 3. So it's interesting. People will pat you on the back if you become financially independent, and you have a modest income. But the moment you start going beyond what they feel is right, all of a sudden they resent you. So if you become a multimillionaire, or you become financially abundant, level 3, all of a sudden people will start to resent you. I found that with my own friends, and family, which is actually quite sad. But the thing is, some spectators have literally immense potential to play the game if they wanted to, and also do good in the world. But they're just unaware of their potential due to their upbringing, surroundings, circumstances, relationships, and self-limiting beliefs. Or the self-limiting beliefs come due to all of what I've just mentioned here. So there really is a leap of faith required. And if there are any ex-military in this live chat or watching this video in the future, I urge you to take that leap of faith. If you are ex-military, joining the military is the best thing I ever did. Leaving the military is the second best thing I ever did. And whether you hate the military or not, or whatever branch you're in, believe it or not, there are things that you learned in the military which will put you in amazingly good stead in the world of business. So do it. Just freaking do it. And I've got loads of Air Force pilot friends who are unhappy in their jobs that want to leap. But they just need to that leap of faith. Do it. Freaking do it. In fact, before we go any further, I haven't written this anywhere, but I have a filter. 3-4 things. It's basically whenever I have been in life and death situations before, I've almost died several times, and it puts things into perspective. So now, if there's any perceived opportunity or path I need to take or choose, I run it through this filter, and I implore you to do the same. Am I going to die, or is someone else going to die? No. Okay. Am I going to get hurt, or is someone else going to get hurt? No. Okay. Am I breaking the law, or is someone else breaking the law, and is jail on the way? No. Okay. Well then, freaking do it. So they're the 3 worst things that can happen. And if it's no for all of those 3, then there's no real risk other than, okay, am I going to lose money, or is someone else going to lose money? I guess there's a weak fourth, but it's so just freaking do it. So if you are an uninterested spectator, you may as well stick to the conventional route and hope that you'll be safe by the time of game expiry, i.e. retirement. So and by the way, I'm not slagging off Spectators. As I said, we're spectators in all different games. But in the wealth generation game, if you're an uninterested spectator, just stick to the usual stuff. Pensions, ISAs, trackers, at least have a rainy day fund, live within your means, and buy a house and don't move often. Simple as that. The don't move often bit is absolutely crucial. I mentioned this, in fact, if we move sideways a bit, I can draw. I mentioned this in another video. So when I say don't move often, it's because the banks will have you. So if you look at the average mortgage repayment rate, it looks something like this. So obviously this is not to scale, but statistically people move every 7 years. Okay, so oh my lord, my computer's lagging. I've got a really fast computer, but sometimes it goes slow. So what you'll find is that most mortgages, you don't really pay much of the capital or the principal off until after sort of year 9, I believe. Because actuaries, they know these stats. And the thing is, because every time you move, you're going to have to either remortgage or get another mortgage, etc. And so the lender's got you, which is why ballpark figures, like let's say you have a 200 grand mortgage, over 30 odd years, the lender, i.e. the bank, is going to make roughly, I would say, between 150 to 200 grand. So if you're an uninterested spectator, just get a house, don't move from it. Warren Buffett, I don't think, has moved from his house in 40 odd years. So, right, then you have the players. Okay, so if you are a player, well, first of all, what is a player? A player is someone that was a spectator, has drawn a line in the sand and gone, right, I actually want to do something different here. Let's freaking give it a go. So, good. You're someone that's taken the leap of faith. And if you screw up, so be it. I mean, put it in my own boots, I've only been doing business for in business for 9 years, and I completely bollocksed up the first 3 years of business. So, and I'm very thankful for that. I've learned a lot. So typically, when a spectator becomes a player, most people will be in this area. So you'll be in the I call it the financial parthenon, and a parthenon needs lots of pillars to keep that big wobbly roof down, but most people have a very poor financial parthenon, as you can see over here. They have all of these negative traits. And then every now and again they'll get an opportunity, whether it's a growth pill or the comfort pill like in the Matrix, but most people go for the comfort pill, which is like snakes and ladders. It will just lead you back to the beginning again. So always go for growth. As I said earlier, you need that growth mindset. Then eventually what you can aspire to is this. This is what a good financial parthenon looks like. If I zoom in over here, you can see it clearly. So as I've cheekily said here, the WAP is the way up here. But these are all the things that you need. I mean, obviously, for any good structure, you need good roots. And so, yeah, things like good spending habits, good health habits, values, good life habits, special skills, whatever you mean by special skills. Or everyone will have different special skills. So, so this will happen as a result of good actions and good habits, okay? You don't just suddenly go, right, I'm going to get a positive network going. Like, it happens by a good natural byproduct of doing the right thing. So they are the players, or the participants of this game. So moving forward, we now need to focus on thought up-leveling. You need to up-level your brain to begin with. So first of all, these are two very important lines on this graph, and a lot of people are completely oblivious to it. So on the left-hand side, if we focus over here, we have memory, okay, and then also time. So for example, most people, like, what is it now? It's at 12:30. If I asked you what you had for breakfast this morning, most people probably think, give it a second, go, yeah, I had this, this, and this, okay, and that's because minimal time has passed, and so therefore your memory is pretty fresh. So you know what you did a few hours ago. If I asked you what you had for breakfast last Tuesday, or 3 Tuesdays ago, all of a sudden a little bit of time has gone, and guess what's happened to your memory? Now, obviously, this isn't to scale. I would actually say, yeah, but you get you understand, right? If I ask you what you had for lunch a month ago, like it's like Jesus Christ, I have no idea. And that's just because we're human. You know, it's our short-term memory bank. It's called short-term for a reason. And then over here on the right-hand axis, you have the results again over time. And most people are too short-term thinking when it comes to their actions and the results. Okay, so I have a bad habit called I eat shitloads of junk food every night, which is not good. I have at least a Magnum or a lollipop a night, bags of crisps, chocolate. Okay, so what's happening here is that I'm doing bad actions. Okay, which means so it's not necessarily a memory thing here, but I'm doing all of these actions now over here. But the thing is, the results of me eating bad food I won't see for at least 5 years. At least 5 years, most likely 10. So all of the health type things you're experiencing now is basically what you've been doing over the last 5, or the habit, your health habits, good or bad, over the last 5 to 10 years. And so over here, I'll then start, experiencing, like when I'm 35. Oh shit, I'm 34. So when I'm 40, I'll probably start experiencing a bit of a pouch, etc. And so it's the same with business. So if you start doing good habits like learning more, etc., you won't notice anything for the next year, at least. And I remember doing loads of stuff, years and years ago, going, well, this is pointless. I've had no uplift in my business as a result of this. And then a few years later, it finally clicks now. So hopefully that makes sense. I could go in a lot more detail with these. And this is where delayed gratification comes in. So over here on the left hand, you have actions. Okay, now if you do multiple similar actions over time, they become habits, right? Same with your thinking. If you have similar thoughts over time, repeatedly, they'll turn into mental habits. Now, along with these actions, you have dopamine. Okay, I guess I could draw another axis for dopamine. But what tends to happen is, a rule of thumb is that you will do a bad habit, like eating bad food every night whilst I'm binging on Netflix, etc. So what's happening is, at the same time, if I had a dopamine axis, I'm getting a high level of dopamine over here because it's yummy and nice and yummy, but it's a negative action, and then eventually it comes back to zero, or because I stop eating or whatever. So, oopsie, negative. So I've just drawn the wrong thing here. And then you go back to zero. And likewise, if you do a positive action, you then have, oh dear Lord, 1 second, sorry. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah. So what happens is eventually, if I get rid of that line? Sorry. I've completely ballsed it up. I balls the wrong thing up. So basically, if you do something, let's do another example. Okay, so let's say you go for a run. Okay, for me, I never run. So for me, it's, sorry, I confused myself because I got the axis the wrong way around. So for me, it's something which I don't want to do. Okay, it's a hard thing to do. So down here, I'm going for the run. I will be getting some endorphins and whatnot. But it's pain in the short term. But eventually, the results over time are positive. So yeah, the results are positive. So this is positive results, negative results, etc. And basically, if you keep on doing this, you'll end up doing something like this. And it's the same the other way around. So if oh dear, Control Z, oh dear Lord, come on. So if I do things which I like I want to eat lots and lots of crisps, lots of dopamine, etc. But guess what happens? The results, so eventually you'll end up with something that looks like this, or something that looks like this. Sorry, I've absolutely balls that example up, but hopefully you get the idea. And you can sort of extrapolate expectancy with this. So, and this is where I guess habits. So I should probably draw on habits instead of actions here. But what happens is I guess it's like if you're in a boat going, let's say, across the ocean or the seas, if you're even at 1 degree out over a long period of time, you're going to end up, or let's take flying. If you're flying and you go off track 1 degree, after 60 miles, you'll be 1 mile away from your target. So, for example, so so when you're looking at bad habits or bad actions or whatever it may be, all you need to be doing is going down here a little bit, and you may not notice. In fact, it needs to be. It's not linear, so it's probably like this. So you feel that nothing bad is happening, but then if you keep on doing this, eventually it'll look like this. As I said, it's non-linear. You'll see it's like 80-20, 80% of the move happens the last 20% of the time. And it's exactly the same with positive stuff. So if you start reading loads and loads of books, doing all the right stuff, for the first, I would say, 1 to maybe 3 years, you're going to not see much of an improvement. Mentally, yeah, you will, but physical results, like your bank account, not much. But then you'll have something like this. And so this is something this chart goes, sort of ties in with all the previous ones. You have to be aware of long-term results. It's massively important. So as I said, my bad eating is going to affect me in 5 to 10 years' time, but all the products, all the success I'm experiencing now in 2020 is nothing to do with what I did last year, if that makes sense. It's everything I did 5 years ago, 9 years ago, etc. Yes, I did things last year which is helping me today, but really the reason I'm in where I am now, and I would say a nice position, is because all the hard slog I've been going through over the last 9 years. So this is really important. So whilst we're still talking about your brain, now is 1 second. I had it and then I deleted it. RKA, here we go. So now I'm going to jump into a little PowerPoint, because I tried doing this by drawing in my hand. I had like the claw yesterday when I was drawing this out, and I just couldn't write anymore, so I was like, screw it. Let's get an old presentation out. So this is something which I called rapid knowledge assimilation, okay? And I need to talk about this a lot more because it is really important. This is what I've called it. So one trick that I've developed over the years is being able to enter a completely alien topic, space, or subject and understand it to a very deep level relatively quickly, without having a degree in whatever that topic may be, etc. And you don't need to do. You'll be surprised. You can, like, if you did 20 hours worth of focused research into any new subject, you'll be far more clued up in that topic than 99.99999% of the population, if that makes sense. So basically there are separate levels. Whereas, like, here's the Earth's crust. Most people, they're so fixated on what's happening on the surface, and they never look below the surface. So with everything, every topic, every issue there is, you need to look at every layer like an onion before. So this is critical before you come to an informed conclusion or decision or opinion on whatever you're researching. So basically, you have to. First of all, what is the topic? What are you trying to deep dive into? And what is the goal? You need a particular thing that you're aiming to. If you're just willy-nilly looking at something, you'll just be like rowing a boat with one oar. You'll just be going in circles. You need to have a purpose for your deep dive. So first of all, you need to explore the media narratives. So you have to understand that the masses, the sheeple, so the sheeple's opinion is based on the media, because people read Facebook posts or what's on the Sun newspaper, and they'll make an opinion based on our tabloids. And so you'll then have to identify what is that mainstream thought seesaw, because you will have like on one side over here where number one is, you'll have the far left, then you have the far right, and then you have the neutrals, etc. So you have to understand both sides of the coin. It's important. Like, even though you may be like massively anti something, you have to put yourself in their boots and try and understand why they are doing what they're doing. The most ridiculous example, I did this because I did it just out of my own integrity, as in my own personal internal integrity. I researched a big deal into flat Earth theory. Now, I'm a pilot. I freaking know the Earth is an oblate spheroid. I love space. I love physics. I love science. Like, I'm 100% confident that it's an oblate spheroid. However, I spent hours looking into why flat earthers thought the Earth was flat before I put it to bed in my own mind. So yeah, I literally watched hours of their YouTube videos and stuff like that. My own conclusion that it's bollocks. By the way, the Earth is not flat. So, but sorry if I've offended any flat earthers here. And if you are a flat earther, I don't think we'd get along. So then, once you know what the mainstream thought seesaw is, you then have to look at what mainstream science / experts think. Now, you may think that all experts think the same thing, but they don't. And we've seen this with the COVID bollocks. There's all sorts of scientists, epidemiologists and virologists that are all saying different things. So what you'll have is a bit of a disconnect. So you have new data on one hand, and then you'll have diehards on the other side. So archaeology is a prime example. I've done a fair bit of research into archaeology. There are so many diehards in terms of archaeologists that have built their whole careers and professorships based on theories which are now being proven incorrect. Because new data is coming which is just completely obliterating their whole life's work. But these old diehards, these crusty old scientists or archaeologists, they're in power of position in the archaeological world. So it's against their interest to dismiss their own work. So unfortunately, in fields like this, you have to wait until these old crusty archaeologists die out, literally die, or leave that profession, and then new data can make it, actually get a hold of it. Again, I'm not going into archaeology now. And then you have to identify the power, influence, and money trail. Now, you could just skip all of the above and go straight to the money trail, and that'll normally find you the correct answer. But you should go through the motions. And then using data, using everything you've discovered, then form your own reasoned opinion. Okay, this is absolutely critical. Then you need to stress test it using anticipated rebuttals by both sides of the party, regardless of which way you may be leaning. And if there are holes in your opinion, you need open, honest naivety. Okay, and then you just keep going back to this until you come to something which is pretty solid. And only then, once you've gone through all of this, you can come up with your own opinion. Okay, and that's it. At the end of the day, what you've discovered is not fact, or it may be fact, but at the end of the day, it's just your opinion. It's your own reasoned opinion. But this is my opinion, how you should form an opinion. Instead of reading one article on YouTube, Facebook, whatever, or from your mate Dave down the pub, and then thinking that. And that happens all too often. Or even just listening to a broadcast from the Prime Minister and believing everything the Prime Minister says. I'm being facetious now. So with rapid knowledge assimilation, you have to develop this knowledge tree. So I hate this is... Yeah, so this is what I just wrote earlier. Now I hate that these are old slides. So I did this in January, okay? I'm going to breeze through this because I don't want to talk about it. I was back in January. I knew nothing about Corona. And so I just did a deep dive. So the roots would be understanding basic biology, chemistry and all that sort of stuff, and just asking basic questions. And so eventually you start forming big chunks of this tree. So you start with the roots, then you need to then you get the trunk, then you get the branches, and then when you have a good understanding of what you think or of the topic you're researching, then you can look at all the little leaves and twigs and mini branches. So that's basically it. So let's not dwell on that. Let's move on. It's one of those topics. It's like Trump, Brexit, Conservative or Tory, and now it's freaking CV. It's like anything else that wants to divide people up so easily. So next, before we go on, so hopefully that makes sense. So that's where I come from whenever I try and research freaking anything. So that is upgrading your brain. Okay, so now we need to get into wealth gen first principles, and it leads me to my favourite person on the planet, and a good old-fashioned dude over here. So this is Aristotle. Aristotle came up with the idea of first principle thinking. I've mentioned this before many a time, but basically it is where you break down a topic to its core constituent parts, to its fundamental basis, where it cannot be discounted or broken down any further, and then you start from there. And if you do that with everything, I guess the process I just showed you with breaking down your opinion forming, that is a form of first principle thinking. And Elon Musk, Lord Musk, is ruler of Mars eventually. He is a big advocate of first principle thinking. So when you are looking at first principle thinking, when it comes to wealth generation, this is, in my opinion, where I think you sort of this is the journey you should sort of follow. So first of all, you need to figure out what your monetary goals are and your magic wand ideal monthly net cash flow is, and also the time frame that you need to achieve it by. I'll talk about A and B numbers later. That's a WAP thing. So once you have basically the destination that you want, so it's like, right, I want to go across the Atlantic and I want to go from Ireland to Washington, let's say, or New York or whatever. So just by doing that, you'll straight away know what sort of vehicle you need. You do not need a rowing boat. You need a proper yacht or a cruiser or some sort of frigate or something like that. Whereas most people, they go, right, yeah, I want to get to this target over here. I want to be worth £10 million, but they're in the completely wrong vehicle to get them there. Like, they won't quit their job, or they won't set up a business. And unfortunately, they don't do the actions necessary to get them there. Okay, so by nailing number one here, you'll understand what vehicle you need to become, or person you need to become, and what vehicle that person needs to drive or fly. So you then need to work out your CAGR, which is your compound annual growth rate. So you have to assume a 3-year spool up. So imagine the first 3 years of doing this, you're going to screw up, and then look into it. So your CAGR, so I'll just quickly, easy way to do it is just go to Google, type in CAGR, and there's bound to be CAGR calculators out there. Is there one here? Nope. Okay, let's click another one. Oopsie. I've just clicked on the same freaking link because I'm silly. Right, I need the in fact, better type in CAGR calculator. There we go. And then click. Okay, here we go. So to work out CAGR, basically, let's say you're starting with £5,000. Okay, let's say most middle class people could rustle up £5,000. Let's say, and let's say your target is to be worth £5 million. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that is 5. So you want to basically go from £5,000 to £5 million. Now, in what time frame you do want to do it? So let's say you want to do it in 10 years, right? Don't put 10 years in, because you're going to waste 3 years. Okay, so in this case, I put 7 years. So 3 years spool up time, and then basically 7 years of active work. So when you calculate this, you basically need to grow your money at 168% per year. Or hell, even if you put 10 in, it's going to be like 100%. Yeah, 99.53. So this will basically help you filter out some investments or activities in order to get you there. So if you needed a CAGR of 168% a year, well, property is not going to help you. And other bits and pieces, other activities will not help you. You need to use the thing that will get you there. So so you then need to assign assets that could roughly achieve CAGR, and there's not many that can achieve 168% per year averaged out. I'll show you what does though. Then you need to identify the key silos that you need to acquire, as in knowledge silos. So you then need to do that rapid knowledge assimilation. into whatever you need. And remember, as I said up here, you need to embrace this with an open and honest naivety. Okay, ask those silly questions. And I did this years ago. So this is a picture of an old notebook I had when I knew freaking nothing. Well, I knew a little bit. I've read some books. I knew enough what I didn't know, if that made sense. So I wrote down things that I needed to acquire. So starting, I needed to get more of a basic growth mindset, basic personal finance, basic life planning, basic money knowledge. So I'm starting with baby steps here, and then eventually you can see, getting into PR and then blah, 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 and then charity structuring right at the end. It's interesting. Most billionaires are massively into charities. Now, I didn't understand why at the time. I thought, it's because they're philanthropical. Nope. No. There are massive tax benefits. That is why they do that. Or it's massive tax benefits, and also you can do good. But yeah, I'm not doing it for the tax benefits here. I do want to get into charity structuring, etc., so I can actually do some shit, some good shit. So yeah. So RKA that, then you need to assign the assets and activities to achieve your CAGR. Then you need to map and plan your journey. So I've said in other YouTube videos, you need a 10-year vision. So this is your goal. I'm going to hit my target in 10 years. And then you need 2 5-year missions. Okay, so you don't just set the first one first, right? Because basically, if you're going up here, so if I draw, do I have a pen on here? Let's see, pen. Okay, here we go. So if you want to get up here, and you're down here at the moment, you have to understand that it won't be a linear line. In fact, that's probably, it's going to be more like an exponential line. So you can then try and work out some little milestones. So your first 5-year mission could be, right, I need to hit this target in 5 years, whatever, monetary level or whatever metric you want to pick. And then when you get there, you go, right, from here, my next 5-year mission is to hit this bit here. But now you've got a nice leapfrog sort of standing point to get to. So yeah, acquire those assets, knowledge assets, skills, whatever. And then eventually you're going to hit your goal. Do the hard work. Hard work now to make the selling easy. It's just a good old business quote. Do your future self a favour. That is my favourite quote. Do your future self a favour. And then, actually relish on your failures and winnings, etc. Party, that's what I don't do enough of. Then you need to set up assets that conservatively spin off your desired A number. I'll talk about that in a minute. So hopefully that's what I deem your wealth generation first principles. Here are the sustainable development goals. So if you're not sure what floats your boat, hopefully one of these floats your boat. But what I would not suggest is to go from 0, no business, no clue, no skills, no knowledge on anything, and go, right, I'm going to focus on 14, life below water. I'm going to save all the fish. You don't have the means or resources or skills necessary to do that. So have this as your 10-year vision or 20-year vision that you are going to help over the next 20 years, but for the first 10 years, you need to sort yourself out. And this is where I see people going wrong all the time. They're starting all the way down here, and they think, oh yeah, I want to be like Elon Musk. I want to fly to Mars, or I want to blah blah blah. But what they don't realize is that they cannot see over their local pinnacle, if that makes sense. So this person cannot, obviously, that this person can, but normally the person can't see beyond that. So all they see is that this. And so there's lots of hurdles that you need to go through before you even look at doing any moonshots. And this bouncer is basically life and the market saying, oi, get back to where you belong. Because if you try and reach over here where, say, Elon is hanging out and you haven't sorted your own life out yet, the market will ruin you. You'll get into loads of debt, you'll go broke, so stuff like that. So the prerequisites are biz knowledge, biz experience, time, passion, and then you need lots of money. Unfortunately, if you want to do some good shit in the world, you need lots of money. So moving on. I'm trying to go as fast as I can because we've got a lot to cover, and we're not near the end yet. So that's what we've just gone through. When you break it down, really you can sort of break it down into about 5 little parts. So first of all, we need to have a look at the WAP planner to work out your A and B number. So if we get that spreadsheet back, so in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw on Paint, because I think this silly AWW software is lagging. I think it's the software. So what I mean by this is that when you fill out your WAP planner, you'll have a good idea of what you're spending now, what your outgoings are per month, in general, blah blah blah, and then when you fill out your financial freedom, basically doing everything you really want to do, you'll figure out what your lifestyle, your magic wand lifestyle looks like, and what your lifestyle right now looks like, but precisely. And then we've got other tabs here which will really hone it down. So I've just put in some, these default figures here is, we've got £2,000 to be covered, and let's say your outgoings are £3,000. So in this case, let's say your outgoings here are £3,000 a month. So in order to be financially free, you basically need stuff that's chucking out £3,000 a month or more. Now let's go back to, I'm losing my place. So work out your A and B numbers. So let's just come up with, so use that number in the back of your head just to base your thing on. So your A number, okay, is your ideal monthly take home. Okay, ideal, that's the key word here, ideal monthly take home. Okay, and your B number is the big lump sum of capital that spits out, so capital that spits out your A number. Okay, so in this case, let's just say your A number is, let's call it £5,000 a month. Okay, so £5,000 a month, ideal take home, that's 60 grand a year, 60k per year. Now you can use different percentages, but let's just use 5%. Okay, just to be safe, because like anyone in their sleep can make 5% per year. So what you do is you get your calculator out and you go 60,000 divided by 0.05. You simply put that, if I just get it on the calculator, you put that percentage in decimal format. So if we do this, so 60,000 divided by 0.05 equals 1.2 mil. Okay, so 1.2 mil. So what this means is that if you plonked 1.2 million quid in a fire and forget bulletproof cockroach portfolio or whatever that chucked out 5% per year, it's going to make you 60k per year. Okay, so this is where technically you are deemed financially free, or what forget labels, it doesn't matter. So so basically you need to come up with 1.2 million quid, put it in like the most bulletproof thing to chuck out 60 grand a year, and then all of a sudden this is really what's passive income, where you'll be getting that. Okay, now I would actually aim for more, because what will happen is I would round it up. So really, if we take that 1.2, let's round it up a bit, so really let's call it 1.5. Let's say you need 2 million for shits and giggles, so plus 2 million, let's say you want to buy a house, car, and just get it out your system basically. So that leaves you with 3.5, and there's going to be all sorts of miscellaneous like taxes, legal, family trying to steal your money, that sort of stuff. It's the family that get you. Add another 0.5. So really you need 4 million. So you have basically all sorts of buffers, and then spending money, and then you can plonk 1.2 mil into a bulletproof thing, and then all of a sudden you've got income set for life. So that's what I mean by your A and B number. So hopefully that makes sense. So let's move on. So we have those figures here. Work out the required CAGR to hit that target and assign activities and assets. So if we go back to the CAGR, so we wanted 4 million. So here, 4 million, let's say over 7 years, equals 159. Or if you started at 10 grand, let's say you had 10 grand net worth, it's 135. So obviously it doesn't really affect it too much. Mind you, if you had say 100k starting off, all of a sudden your CAGR, 69, it's a lot easier. I know there's some people here that are fortunately starting off at a higher level, so you don't have to take that many crazy moves, if that makes sense. So long story short, it's nearly always going to be above 100%. Do the RKA, yep, acquire the prerequisite skills, and then implement. So yeah, it's all very, as I said, this game is freaking simple in theory. Actioning it is not. And here's the thing which you need to be obsessed with. I keep moving my pad away. You need to be obsessed with this bit. Do, fail, learn, pivot until successful. This is the number one thing I'm teaching my kids. They're only 2 and 3, but yeah. So you need to do more than everyone around you, and yeah, without hindrance. Okay, just do everything. Fail faster and quicker than everyone you know, and then you need to learn from it, and then from your learnings you then need to pivot, and then you do again. Okay, if you can repeat this cycle faster than your peers, then you will win. Okay, not that you're competing against anyone else. Remember, this game is a bit like golf. You're competing against yourself. You're competing against yourself to not shank it into the woods and do army golf, left, right, left, right, left, right. So the quickest approach in everything is the straight line approach. So physics. So yeah, so that is that. Then moving on to this bit. Now let's look at the ORBAT. So ORBAT is order of battle. So when you're looking at this, you're over here on the far left, okay? And you're not sure what to do. This is my best drawing of a stick man. Took me ages, several attempts to do that. Basically, in my opinion, so this is where financial advisors hate me or disagree with me. They will look at your age and then work out your risk appetite depending on your age, which I think is bollocks. If you're 60 years old and you really want to hit some monetary targets, age is irrelevant. Age is completely irrelevant. There's been loads of successful people that started in their 60s. So it's, as I said back in the opening 5 minutes, it all depends on your drive. Like, how much do you really want this? And sometimes if you have like family needs, that in fact, just look at the stick man. It looks like it's got this bloke's got boobs. It's actually someone doing this. I just can't draw. So what I believe, Siam opinion hat on, if I just that's my opinion hat on, is that if you are playing this game, you are by default entering into the aggressive wealth generation phase of your life. And then you have this chasm, you have this big black chasm over here. And this chasm is basically the financial independence line here. I've obviously screwed up a neat looking picture here. But basically, in order to get over here, you need to become financially independent. So when you hit level 1 and you've completed the game, boom, you're then into the capital preservation play, i.e. you need to preserve the capital that you just generated. Then you can play around with bogus, shitty things that make you 5-10% a year in order just to preserve capital and maintain above real inflation. So really, in my opinion, if you're making 10% per year, you're making 0% in real terms, because everyone ignores real inflation, especially now in a world of stimulus. So basically, if you're in the aggressive wealth accumulation phase, you have two things that you can focus on. You can look at capital appreciating assets or cash flowing assets. So a capital appreciating asset is basically anything where you are buying low and you are hoping that you exit, so in here and out here. But you are using huge amounts of hopium, or hope, yeah. So you're basically crossing your legs, crossing your appendages, and then hoping that you've got in at the right time, at the right place, and then you're exiting at the right time, at the right place. I think the world's best investor is Jeff Bezos' ex-wife. She got in there before he was rich, and she got out when he hit a peak. She's the best investor ever. So like, what do I have, like 100 billion? So and that's basically what a capital appreciating asset is. It's hoping you buy low, sell high, and it's stuff that goes up. So a lot of people, they think that their house is their capital appreciating asset, because everyone thinks that house prices go up always. They double every 10 years, which is bollocks. House prices in the UK between 1865 to 1965 were flat. So if you look at that chart, it's literally flat, 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 flat. Way 1970 odd, it goes nuts because they started currency printing. Margaret Thatcher, President Reagan started the whole every man must own his own home initiative to prop up builders and the property market. And they printed shitloads of currency in order to do that. So that's capital appreciating. Then you have cash flowing. So this is basically stuff, money or funds or income being put in your pocket every month, right? Now, in my opinion, if you look at what every billionaire does, they focus on cash flowing assets, not capital appreciating assets. So again, Siam opinion hat on here. I believe you should focus 10% of your time, money and effort in capital appreciating assets, and 90% of your time, focus, money and energy into cash flowing assets, okay? And if you focus on cash flowing assets, what you can then do eventually is that you can, excess profits from your cash flowing assets, you can spill over into your capital appreciating assets. Now, the reason why a lot of people think that I'm a bit crazy, I take ridiculous risks, is because of this. Because I'm so obsessed with cash flowing assets, I've developed multiple businesses that deliver cash flow, and so I then have like a replenishing income stream every month. Okay, if you read the book The Riches of Babylon, or I think something like Babylon. God, I forgot. I've read it a long time ago. They say you need to replenish thy purse. It's old-fashioned language, but here's the thing. Because only 10% of my money and time is in capital appreciating assets, for me, putting this 10% into a stupid asset that chucks out 10% a year is not going to float my boat. One, because there's not enough cash going into that asset, and 10% a year, that's it. Richest man in Babylon. Thank you, Louis Torres. Richest man in Babylon. Cheers, John and Louis. Or Luis, I'm not sure. So I'm bad with names. So for me, that 10% that I put into capital appreciating assets, I put them in extremely high risk stuff. What is wrong with this software today? High risk, high yielding. So for me, I'm just plonking it all into crypto. I think, that crypto is the perfect capital appreciating asset in your high risk category, because it has, when you look at R multiples, it's like 100R. It's a binary outcome. You're either going to end up with nothing or you're going to be a millionaire. But it's only 10% of my net worth. In fact, I've only actually, I don't even have 10% in it at the moment. I'm on the sidelines. I put in a small pot the other day into Ether, but I'm not in yet. But eventually I will build it up to 10%. But I think we've got a bit more falling in cryptos. So cash flowing assets, what is there? So again, there is property, but you have to understand, if you're doing property for cash flow, guess what? You're actually running a business, okay? And it just happens that property are the widgets in your business. So if you're running a property business and you're buying it to let out, or you're buying something to do up or partition, like do an HMO and then sell out to students or whatever, let out to students, like, all you're doing is they are the widgets of your business. Just like if I was to buy some cheap tap from China and then sell it on with a markup, it's no difference. It's still a business. Jeff Bezos was online books, and then now everything, and you have property. So it is a business. So at the end of the day, when you look at CAGR, okay, so when you're looking at the CAGR, and you can play around these figures, and you'll always end up with something ridiculous. 60%, 100%, 200%. The only asset on the planet that can get you your required CAGR is business. Literally. That is it. And what you'll find, can I move down 1 second? I'm not sure. Not yet. Let's go sideways. So let's get my pen back. So, actually, we can do something different. Instead of going sideways, we can just zoom in. So if you, so if we draw this, so if you have a business, when you start off with a business, it is something like this. Like when you get to a certain turnover, like let's say 500 grand a year revenue, you can pretty much double your growth every year up to a certain level. So what I found is that every year, like when I either set up a new startup or invest into a new startup, what I find is I can double the revenue every year on year, until you get to about 500 grand, or maybe it depends what industry you're in, maybe 250 to 500k, and then from sort of 250 to 500k onwards, all of a sudden it then massively drops off. So I think from 500k to 1 million, typically you're looking at anything between 20, Jesus Christ, this is so laggy today, 20 to 50% per year. And then from 1 million onwards, you're looking at something like 20% a year on year growth. So you have that massive growth up. I mean, put it this way, like if you go from zero, like if you're doing like £1,000 a month in revenue, £1,000 to £2,000 a month revenue is not a big deal. It really isn't. It's like 1 or 2 extra customers. If you go from like 1 million revenue to 2 million revenue, shit, that's an extra 83 grand a month in revenue that you need to find. It's not an extra customer or 2, it's an extra 100 customers or whatever. So that is why. And so this is why business is it. If you want CAGR, if you need something to hit your CAGR targets, it has to be business. It has to be. It's nothing else that fits the bill. And then eventually when you hit financial independence, guess what? You can then do whatever the hell you want. You can invest in turkey racing or whatever it may be. Is there even such thing as turkey racing? I don't know. So then moving on, here is some essential viewing. So if you go to YouTube, in fact, you probably won't find it. I'll just put it in the, if I just edit this and put it in the chat box, Control C, putting this in the chat box, everyone. Okay, so that link is a 28-minute video. And it basically goes through everything. So if I do this, you will basically cover everything about, 1 second. So in fact, just watch it, just bookmark it, save it to whatever. You're going to come up with, you'll learn a lot of things, whether it's from demographics to what type of business you need to set up to, everything. And then it'll go through some basic numbers, etc. So definitely do that. Also, if you are struggling for ideas, I'll put this in the chat box as well. Biz idea list will probably give you some help. Press enter. So made this a while ago. Some of these models probably won't work now, COVID, but so if you're unsure what sort of business idea to do, like this is just inspiration, okay? Just you can put your own sort of twist on it, and what I've done is I've given like a little, 2 cents worth of what I think on each one thing, on each thing, and then definitely at the end, things not to do. Don't set up a podcast or write a best-selling book or a blog or all this stuff. I mean, I see so many people saying, become a podcaster or a YouTuber. Like, they are marketing tools for an existing business. They are not a business itself. It's just lead generation. That's all it is. If you don't have an existing business where those viewers can actually go and buy from you, then they are pointless. I'm approached all the time to like be interviewed on blogs and podcasts and stuff like that, but like it's catch-22. If you have no viewers, no no viewers or readership, people are not going to go onto your interview, and vice versa. You can't get viewers unless you get some good speakers. So it is a catch-22 type thing. So as you can see, travel planner concierge was a good idea pre-COVID, not now. So yeah, and then there's a biz startup checklist, which is definitely worth getting. I'm not sure. Let's have a look. Stand by. Here we go. So, yeah, so this checklist, if I move it over here, is basically everything you need to do from the start. If I zoom out a bit, so obviously the first thing is get a rough idea of the business. Choose if it's going to be for B2C or B2B, all that sort of basic stuff, and then eventually get into the bits and bolts of it all, like set this up, get this software, do this, do the thank you page, blah blah blah, create this. Yeah, like this is literally step for step thing, and it'll help you go from pre-POC, so pre proof of concept, to post-POC. Post-POC is post proof of concept. You are only post-POC once you have a business, so once your MVP has been proven, once your minimal viable product has been proven, that's when you have a business. Up until pre-POC is when you have an idea and you're just testing it. So that's that. So there's some potential ideas. Yeah, please, I put them in the chat box. Definitely watch that video. 100% watch that video. So then we get into some business reality checks. Okay, so we're near the end now. I think this, if we zoom out a bit, this is the last, pretty much the last content bit. This has gone longer than I had anticipated, but I do talk quite a lot. So, okay, here are some business reality checks, okay? And this is, like, I see so many people get into business, they're like, I'm going to be a business owner, and they buy all the stationery, they buy a brand new computer, a table, they get all the pens and pairs, like pens and paper, like stationery. They'll get like business cards, they'll do like everything. And then what have they actually done? They're nothing, they haven't got a business. I know a girl, no, sorry. Anyway, so moving on. So here is the reality check, okay? Because as I said, the wealth generation game is not for everyone, and business is not for everyone. So all businesses need sales, okay? We get that. Obviously, you can actually start higher up. All businesses need revenue or profit. How do you get profit? You need revenue. How do you get revenue? You need sales. So all businesses need sales. So again, always think of things from first principles. To get sales, you need leads. Where do you get leads? Oh, this is so laggy. Where do you get leads? Well, you either get them offline or online. No shit, Sherlock. However, in order to control your lead flow, you need to learn then, this is bad English, in order to, you need to then, oh my lord, don't know what I was trying to say there, but I know the answer. Online marketing. Basically, in order to control your lead flow, you then need to learn how online marketing to at least a basic level. You don't know what I was trying to write here, just ignore this. Long story short, if you want to control, so a lot of people focus on like networking, like offline networking, etc. And yes, word of mouth is good, but you can never scale a business through word of mouth. You can't control that. So in order to control your lead flow, you then need to be able to do online marketing. Now, I hate online marketing, I've only learned it through necessity, just because I went through this thought process years ago and went, oh shit, if I need to actually grow and scale a business, I need to actually be able to control my lead flow. And then, yeah, when you do understand online marketing, you can then turn the tap off, etc. So, yeah, that is the sad reality check of business. You will have to learn the basics of online marketing. Facebook, YouTube marketing, LinkedIn, TikTok, depending on where your demographic hangs out, pretty much. Now, if you don't want to do it, you need to know a little bit. So when you employ someone to do it for you, you'll know if they're bullshitting, if they're any good, Like, I've interviewed so many digital marketers and I've seen through so much bullshit. Honestly, I've interviewed people with like the best CVs ever, and then you like really ask them, so you did this, and basically just drill them down into a little thing like, and then if they cannot share with you the inner workings, the weeds of a campaign that they ran, you'll know that they outsourced it to someone else. Like, I had some online marketer trying to get a job with me who said that they ran a campaign that made millions, or whatever. I was like, oh, what platform did you do it on? And they went, oh, it's all Facebook marketing. I was like, ah, game on, bitch. Like, I know Facebook marketing. And so I just asked them, started off with basic Facebook questions on that campaign, and he didn't know. Was it he or she? I can't remember, actually. I've had a lot. They all blur into the same person. And then eventually I got to the conclusion, I knew myself before this person admitted it, that yeah, they paid a firm to do it for them. I was like, well, yeah. So I've caught a few people lying on their CVs when they're talking about stuff that they obviously didn't do. So yeah, so that's a reality check. Now, going back to this bit here, what I said before, what you'll find is that you'll eventually get, you won't be able to go to a single restaurant and not doodle on a napkin. And I've done all sorts of doodles before on napkins, and they tend to be stuff like this. So let's say you wanted, 20 grand a month, and for your ideal A number, and then if you work all the bits and bobs out, you'll work out that you need, let's say, £5 million. You want to do it in 10 years, so let's say you need 100% CAGR, or yeah, ballpark. So you've realised you need to get into business, you need to understand marketing, etc. You then need to understand Google, YouTube, or you can then learn all of those skills via Google, YouTube, the WAP, etc. And then go, right, okay, I'm going to spend at least 1 hour a night to learn how to do all this stuff. And then when you start crunching the numbers, it'll come up to something like this. So yeah, let's move away from here. So they're the ideal numbers, but obviously you need to start somewhere. So I wouldn't actually necessarily aim for those things. So your first mission could be, right, I'm going to get to 3.5 grand a month take home. Okay, so let's say your outgoings are 1,500 quid a month. Let's say you want two grand a month spending money. So 3.5 grand a month take home. Now, you could then just work backwards, okay? And this is when it gets a lot easier. So you then go, right, I'm going to take a 75% divvy. So let's say every month there's X amount of profits in the business. I'm going to take 75% of them as a divvy, let's say, or salary divvy, however you want to do it. So that means your business needs to be chucking out £4,700 a month in profit. Let's say you pick a business model with a relatively high margin, so let's say 50% net margin. So that means your business needs to be doing £9,400 per month. And then when you add on the 20% VAT, that means you'll need to be doing just over £11,000 per month in revenue. Okay. Now, what type of business does this look like? So if you need £11,280 per month in revenue, or what does that look like? If you had some sort of subscription-based business and you had people paying £10 a month, or you need just over 1,100 customers, or if it's 100 quid a month, you need 113 customers, or £1,000 a month, you need 12 customers. I mean, if you're doing £1,000 a month, it's most likely going to be B2B. There's not many retail, everyday people that can pay £1,000 a month for something, unless you're delivering insane value. But yeah, or it may be a mix, or it doesn't have to be recurring revenue. I highly recommend that it is, by the way, because if you don't, every month you start on 0 sales, and then it's a massive stress and struggle, because you're like, oh shit, first of the month I need to make sales. Whereas if you got them coming in on direct debit, or they're buying something up front, but they're splitting it over 12 installments, then you can control and you're budgeting. So there's just food for thought. Times 1,000 napkins later, you'll have a good idea of what you're doing. So here's a tip. The vehicle you use to get to level 1, i.e. financial independence, will most likely be inadequate to get you to level 2 and 3. Okay, so you can get to level 1 doing any type of business. You can literally In fact, I can go to this idea thing, close my eyes and scroll around and go, there. What is that? I'm not even on the page. So scroll, there. Property deal sourcer. Okay. So I know very little about this, but you can basically, yeah. So if I went out to become a property deal sourcer, you could hit level 1, become financially independent just by doing this, if you did this properly. Again, with all of these businesses, you'll have to understand online marketing. It's a sad reality. It's freaking sad, and I hate marketing. I really do. I do not like marketing, but it's a thing that we all have to learn. You just got to suck it up. Life is not fair. So, yeah. So there's some scribbles. And then finally, eventually, you'll end up looking something like this. Hopefully. Over time. So that's 1 hour 25. It's a lot longer than I anticipated. So this is the big picture that we've gone through. We've covered a lot. Honestly, I could have stretched this out for a few hours and gone into a bit more depth. Ideally, I'd like to go more depth with these graphs down here. I didn't do a good job there. But what I would highly recommend, I really would go to the wap.org and have a look at the contents here. So as I said, it's everything you didn't learn from your parents and teachers. And you'll see in this contents, this is everything you'll learn. So all of this is this section, when doing the trial, the 30-day trial, is basically converting an idea into a profit, MVP, etc. And then you learn everything about online business, loads of stuff here, mindset sort of stuff, basics of investing, basics of money, basics of property, future tech, future opportunities, and like loads and loads of stuff, right? And so if you click on the 30-day trial, that is it. It's £7 for 30 days. You'll then go into the WAP Facebook group. We do live stuff in here, yada yada yada. So it's worth doing. What I would highly recommend is doing this with your children. So if you are fortunate enough to have kids, whether they're 5 years old or 20 years old, do this with them. Just do the trial with them, and you'll just go through each video bit by bit. What I did in 2018 was I sat down and I wrote out everything about business, wealth generation, everything that I could think of. It's for my kids. So it turned out to about it's about over 450,000 words. So literally, I wrote a spread. Is it Google Sheets or I can't remember. It's somewhere here. So what I did, in fact, I'll probably find it here somewhere. The WAP. It's called the WAP map. Whereas the WAP map June 18. There's that one. That's an old one. October. So basically, I wrote out every lesson in a Microsoft spreadsheet, and basically converted every lesson, and then I did a voiceover. We turned them into animated videos. Every one of these is an animated video of some sort, and it's over 450,000 words, so it's like 10 books worth of content in the WAP. And I've done it really, so one, it will be good content for my schools, but really I've put it in my will that if I were to die, my kids don't have anything. They can't touch anything until they complete the whole of the WAP. So tough shit, kids. You have to learn some shit if you want some inheritance. Not that I want to leave them that much anyway. I think leaving big inheritance to your kids can be quite. It sometimes gives the wrong, the undesired effect of what you wanted for your kids. So, right, enough of my opinions. You've had an hour and 28 minutes of my opinions. What are your questions? So what I'm going to do now is go through the chat box. Just please, if you have any questions, pop them in the chat box. I'm going to start from the top and go down. There aren't that many here at the moment, so just pop them in. So hello. Yeah, you've got my silly background.
Hello.
So yeah, just pop them in the chat box. I got bored with the beard. Yeah, I let my kids shave it off the other day. I look younger now. So found you through Chat with Traders. Cool. Cheers. Richard Man of Babylon. How much does the WAP cost after 30? 27 quid a month. That's it. How much after free trial? Yeah, 27 quid a month. It's cheap as chips. Oh, here's something which I think is pretty cool. what I did is I always put my money where my mouth is. So in November, if I can find it here, maybe if I go to units, in the WAP group, content around biz ideas, where is it? Here we go. So in the units part of the WAP Facebook group, if you click on Siam content updates and look for the ones new biz experiment part 1 to 10, etc., and you'll see all the way back here, part 1. I was just charging out the car. Basically, I was when was this? No, it was November time. I put my money where my mouth is, because part of the WAP is that we need to get you from £0 per month to £300 per month profit. That is the really hard bit, okay? Then going from 300 quid a month to 3 grand a month, that's super easy. Honestly, that's so easy, or relatively easy. But 0 to 300 quid a month profit in a brand new business is really hard. So in November 2019, my wife and I, we had this idea, which was a bit of a stillbirth idea years ago. But we're like, okay, we're going to create a brand new business, completely non-finance related. So I couldn't do a business where I had pre-existing knowledge or skills. And, oh, there's a Facebook message I'm just going to get rid of so now I can read it. And basically we're going to get to 300 quid a month profit within 3 months. And yeah, we did. So, and I sort of vlogged each, so it's called My Fairy Pen Pal. So yeah, it had to meet all the criteria which I teach in the WAP. I'll show you. Yeah, it's basically what happens is if you have a child between the age of 5 and 9, we write to you, or Aria the fairy writes a letter to you every week, and you have gifts and stuff. So we made a little video.
My Fairy Pen Pal nurtures your child's amazing imagination.
Blah, blah, blah. Weekly letters, stuff to do, yada, yada, yada. And it's awesome, because we send out loads of stuff. And every week, honestly, like we get, I'm shitting you not, at least 30 letters a week of kids replying back to Aria the fairy. And we thought it would die out due to COVID, but it's actually exploded. And so yeah, after that 3-month trial, we hit 400, it was about 400 quid a month profit. And then what we did is, so we completed the mission. So the mission was to get to 300 quid a month profit. And as you can see, and I shared all the costs all the way through what we did, some lead gen campaigns, blah, blah, blah. We have 2 living rooms in the house, and so we converted one of the living rooms into Ellie's office, because my wife is the doing person. She's writing all the letters, etc.
It's because she is spending forever.
Yeah, so just shaming our mess. And then I was just doing the marketing. And so what happened since
26th of February, so not long.
I'll show you our recent campaign actually. So here we're going to Facebook Ads Manager. And so we did a campaign in March, somewhere down here. But then on where is it? No, let's open this up to lifetime. Here we go. 8-week trial. So we did this new campaign, and it's freaking insane. So what it's saying here is that if we look at the view charts, so from the 5th of April is when we started. Since then, we've spent £7,908 in Facebook ads for MFP, and I know it says 663 leads, but we've hit 900 leads now, which is insane. So when you're working out the stats on this, so because if I'll show you something, and the reason why, so even though we've had 663 leads from this, the reason we've had more is because of this. I'll show you. If we can click this, view charts, look at this ad. It's had 640 shares and 1,300 comments, and about the same in likes and stuff like that. Like the ad has just gone relatively viral. And so when you work out the stats, it's interesting. So this, I'll show you a bit of the funnel, I guess. So this lead, what we know from previous campaigns is that if we get someone doing a £15 trial, so it's 8 weeks, so basically they get a letter a week and loads of gifts, etc. That then leads into an MFP client, etc. Yeah, that's basically it. So basically we have 2 months to develop a rapport with the kid, and then the kid guilt trips the parent into continuing. And to be a My Fairy Pen Pal client, it's only £15 per month, okay? And it's educational, so that they are learning stuff. But what we found is that there's at least a minimum of a 20% conversion rate, okay? So we did the first couple of campaigns in that 3-month window, and the first one was like 18%, then another one was like 25%, but yeah, it's 20 odd percent. So what we've done now is we've redone this campaign, and what was it, the 15th of May right now, we're sitting at 900 trialers. And so with that 20% conversion rate, so by the way, we started off before this campaign at roughly 400 quid a month profit, and that's profit, not revenue. So what is 900 times 20%? It's 180. So we should end up with an extra 180 divided by 10. So yeah, so we've got, it's about £10 profit each. So we've got 40 at the moment, 40 clients, as in proper students. With a 20% conversion rate from that 900, we'll end up with 180 fairies, we call them. Technically, it's a pen pal. So 180, and it's £10 profit. So yeah. So plus the, so what was it, 220 we'll end up with, and at £10 a profit each, 2,200 per month. So there we go. We started this trial, this minimum viable product, in November 2019, and we should, over the next month and a half, it's May, April, May, we will end up with about 200 plus fairies. So we'll have at least £2,000 a month profit, and that's profit. It's not revenue; it's profit. So yeah, I put my money where my mouth is, and literally, you can just copy everything we did. Just go through these videos, just copy. So that's that. You said oil will pop again. Are you shorting it? Yes, I'm shorting oil vehemently. I've got a whole bunch of sell orders in around the $25 level, so I am shorting oil. Basically, put it this way: if oil gets back down to $10, I make about 30 grand profit. But we're not talking about, this is not trading today. How much time does it take to go through the whole WAP if you do 1 hour a day? I don't know. A lot. What we've probably 6 months. I'm just guesstimating. Yeah, 1 hour a day is probably at least 6 months. There's a lot to learn. So this is, I guess it's a business encyclopedia. So yeah, just do 1 hour. Yeah, if you do 1 hour a day, or hell, if you do one video a day, it'll easily be a year. Actually, probably more than. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Richie. Shamil, where do you see business opportunities post-COVID? Yeah, Shamil. Sorry, I'm not good with names. That's a great question. The honest answer is I don't know. And I think it's interesting. I don't think anyone really knows. Like, I've got businesses in multiple sectors. So I've got, I know, about 7 odd businesses, and they're all in different sectors apart from 2 of them. And I don't know, mate. I genuinely do not know. And I think anyone that's saying, right, these business models are going to work definitely post-COVID, blah, 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 I think they're going to be, I think it's probably, the dust has not settled yet. And the reason I say that is that we are about to have the biggest stock market crash in history. 1929, 87, 01, 08, 07, all rolled up in one. This is the crash of everything. This is the everything bubble. And once we are post-crash, then we'll have an idea. But the world is not going to go back to normal. it won't be. It seems like the world, I mean, this is very opinion hat on here. It seems like every 20 years there's the new global campaign against something. You had 20 odd years where it's like, right, everyone kill the communists. We don't like communists. And then from like 2000 onwards, it was like, oh, terrorists is the new thing. That's from like 2000, or basically 9/11 till 2020. And now it's viruses. So it's like, oh, okay, the next 20 years it's viruses. And then in 2040, we'll probably get something else. Hey, it's aliens. I don't know. So we're not going back to normal. I think this is the new paradigm shift where everyone is going to be socially distant for forever now, I reckon, until everyone's bagged and tagged with some sort of vaccine or whatever. But yeah, so I don't see where the opportunities are. But what I'm waiting for is once the dust has settled, once the stock market has peed its pants, business has gone bust, blah blah blah. It'll be a great opportunity to start buying businesses, which, you know, good businesses that still are doing revenue but maybe need some capital or just need some help, etc. So I've paused all of my mergers and acquisitions for now, for at least a year, until the dust has settled. But until then, I don't know. In my group of businesses, it's a mixed bag. We've got some businesses doing really well, some are on pause, and some are just lying face down in the water. So put it this way, I've got one business. We have huge infrastructural costs, so it's about 150 grand a month in costs. It's government funded, so it's ESFA funded, and it's Ofsted regulated, and blah blah blah. It's about 150 grand a month in outgoings, per month outgoings, and we're doing really well because everything above 150 grand in revenue or gross. In fact, yeah, basically everything above 180 grand a month in revenue was, you know, profit. So we were doing about 200 to 250 grand a month revenue, and then COVID, boom. So now we're down to break even. So yeah, so revenue has basically dropped from 250 grand a month down to about 150 grand a month, 180 grand a month, and that hurts. So that was an epic business, and now it's breaking even. So everything is everything. In fact, look, we've got another lead here, my very pen pal. So I don't know, Liam, how will you scale this? I.e., when wife can't reply to all 200. Yeah. So this is good, Liam. It's a great question. So what we, I'm glad you, because I was about to draw something else here. We had recruitment issues. We could not, like, everyone's like supposedly losing jobs and stuff like right now. We for the last month we've been trying to recruit someone, like to be we needed a full-time member of staff, paying minimum wage, unfortunately, because it's a low profit margin business, and we couldn't find anyone. In the end, our cleaner, who we've got our cleaner, and she's now working 40 hours a week on minimum wage. So what is that? I'm not dealing with the payroll, but yeah, so it's going to take a bit of a chunk. So I think when all these come through, because there's lots of folding, lots of bits and pieces, I think before costs it'll be that, and then after the costs it's going to come down a fair chunk. But what we'll have, I know it's probably going to be like 800 quid a month probably. But we'll then have capacity, so I can actually scale the ads, because at the moment I'm having to hold back the ads, as in the Facebook ads. So with this new member of staff, we can actually start scaling the campaign. So yeah, a full-time member of staff is how we're scaling it, and then all I need to do is just spend more on the ads. I'm only spending 200 quid a day on this fairy campaign right now. So ideally, so here's the crazy thing: to get a lead, they're paying £15 to be a lead, but what's it actually costing us? It's costing us less than £15. So we've spent, what is it, 7,908, or call it 7,909, divide that by 900, it's costing us £8.78. So it's costing us £8.78 to get a new lead, and that new lead is paying 15 quid, and there's a 20% probability or expectancy in rolling over. So I want to spend more. So instead of spending 200 quid a day, I want to spend £1,000 a day, if, providing the CPA stays the same or the CPL stays the same. So that's that. Do you get many businesses coming to you for help at the moment, Siam? Too many for you to give help. You might pass them on. Paul, yes and no. So basically, any questions. So if you're a whapper, if you have any questions, I will answer the questions, and so will the community. So like it is like I am answering the questions if you do put them into the community. But yeah, I'm getting a lot of. I mean, I've just refreshed this like the other day. I've got 11 unread, and I've just and that was just from this morning, I think. So yeah, I'm not necessarily passing on. But I'd highly implore you, even if someone says, hey, here's a business opportunity, can you buy the business? I would say no, just wait, because we don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. No one does. When the stock market crashes properly, things are going to change again, even more so. I would love to see the job ad. We are looking at for full-time fairy. Thanks for my wife's got that. Wait 1 second. I can probably find it for you. My fairy. In fact, I did a Facebook ad for it. I can find it. 1 sec. So this is probably boring some people. Where it's fairy helper, edit. Did I drive them to a landing page? Let's see. This one, fairy helper. There we go. So the advert was something like, hey, we need help, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so this is it. Video of what we do. We need a fairy help in the Flegba area, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we start off, we need at least 5 hours a week. Are you the one? It's now a lot more. Hey, Ellie, step 1, step 2. This is, sort of stuff. I'm your fairy, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so hopefully, yeah, let's call it a day. That's 1 hour 46. It's more than enough. Hopefully, I mean, has this been helpful? I've covered, we've talked about a lot. So, epic, rich, cheers. So yeah, thank you everyone. I do appreciate your time. There's been a solid 40 odd people here throughout the whole 1 hour 40 odd. So, I do value that. So thank you everyone.
Thanks, Siam.
Have a good one all, and have a good weekend.
Bye.
Toodles. Bye bye.